Okay. Hey guys, thanks for being patient when I went through all of the slides that I posted. Um, hello. I know it's been over a week, and I want to first of all apologize for sort of being MIA. I was planning to post something on Tuesday, and other things happened. And so again, if you were waiting for me to pop up with something, again, I apologize. So I know we have a lot to do, and I'm ready to plow ahead. If you are, we'll do it together, and we'll get through these last several weeks, and you'll have your projects done, and you'll be ready for capstone, and everything will be great. So hope you guys are all staying healthy, staying away from groups of people. It's not easy to do. The best way to do that is just to stay home. Not always the worst thing to do either. Staying home, doing stuff that you would do at home, quiet things if you're introvert, you have fun doing anyway. Before I just continue going on with chatter, I'm going to move on. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. That's famous last words though. So let's just get going, so you aren't going to have to be tied to the computer screen for hours. Okay, so first of all, I know it's been a while since we've met, so I want to talk about housekeeping stuff. So mainly housekeeping stuff would be about participation points. So just to reiterate for you, participation points, each week you will be getting or have the opportunity to get 20 participation points. All right, so these points are earned by replying to the lecture announcement, and I think many of you, if not all of you, have already started doing that, so that's great. So if there's just one lecture, which there's sometimes just one lecture like last week, that reply is worth 20 points. So if you replied to it and said like participation in the text body, then you get the points. And like I said, last week only there was one, and so you get the 20 points for just that one. If there happens to be 2 lectures in a week, each is worth 10 points. So you'll get, again, 20 points per participation opportunity. So also bear in mind that some replies, so you watch the lecture, take notes, some replies do require a short writing exercise in order to receive the points. So if you miss that part of the lecture where I'm saying, okay, here are the questions I would like you to answer in the reply section for your participation, please do those, because if you don't do those, then you will not get the participation points. Okay, so just make sure you do that, because participation is probably one of the easiest ways to get grades. All right, so definitely watch out for that. So what we're going to do today is a very brief review of the 3 types of between subject match designs, and I posted a video lecture about those particular designs. I posted that on last week, and so that should give you an idea of which match design randomization looks like. It's in your textbook, and today I want to prepare you for the CLC project, because you're going to actually take data and match it in a variety of ways. So I'll do a brief review of those 3 types, including why is a match design important. Okay, 3 types are range, precision, and rank order. And then I'd like to spend most of the time with an explanation and a walkthrough of the CLC project. Also, would like to present the opportunity to schedule Zoom meetings with you, whether it's one-on-one or whether it's in small groups, or whether if we can get a large group together, Zoom meetings to kind of just talk about what's upcoming, answer questions. And I know specifically I want, and perhaps you want, to talk about your projects, right? Because that's kind of the main thing. You want to get those done, prepare for capstone. So that's another way that I can help you. one-on-one. So I'll send out an announcement about that, and I don't know, maybe some sort of like program where you can sign up for times that work for you, and then we can kind of go from there, make sure that we can hit everybody's schedule as much as possible. Okay. So we used match research designs because of this. So most of you have a study, or designing a study, or have designed the study that likely involves a cause-effect relationship. So when we have a cause-effect relationship, we're going to be making really big claims about our the results. Okay, so we have to be really careful about how we randomize our samples. So remember, one of the biggest problems with statistics is the amount of error, okay, that we have built into every formula, and that poses an inherent problem. One of the ways to alleviate that inherent problem with all the error involved is randomization. So random sampling, making sure that our samples are chosen not conveniently, not purposely, but almost like you're drawing them out of a hat. Okay, you're drawing data out of a hat would be one of the most random physical way of getting your sample. But most experimental studies are designed to compare two or more groups, right? So there are definitely innate problems with this. Many of you, if not all of, well, I shouldn't say all of you, but I say most of you are comparing like two groups, which is a very common method to find hopefully effect of your treatment. So, you know, I have people, like, even in the past in research classes, that are interested in music and say, music on memory. Okay, that's kind of a popular one. So if you're interested in, you know, how or does listening to music while studying affect your memory for the information, or test scores? Maybe test scores be easy to measure. So if that's your question, okay, you'll probably assign your sample into two groups. Group one would be the music group. Group two might be the no music group. Okay, and then you give them the test that, you know, they're going to take, and you see if if the groups score differently, and based on that information, you can decide to retain or reject the null hypothesis. However, when we make that hypothesis decision, we're actually, we're not always controlling for, we're not controlling for all possible confounding or mediating or extraneous variables. So the music and I guess memory for information or test scores, that particular setup seems to have lots of problems, such as, well, is the music that group one is listening to, is it something that they enjoy? Is it lyrical? Is it from a certain genre? And is that distracting for the particular group people in the sample or not? So I'm sure that we could go on for a long time coming up with a list of problematic variables in that particular study. So when we have problem variables that are probably floating out there that we didn't account for, then we know that we're going to have to do something. One suggestion is always to increase sample size, but the second suggestion is always to make sure you sample randomly, preemptively as well. You can't go back and change your sample or mix around your data. You can't do that. You have to start a new project. Okay, so our samples must be selected randomly. In order to ensure our samples are random, we can shuffle our data around so that they are placed in an order that has no order. So again, I like to think of this like shuffling a deck of cards. So why do we shuffle cards? So that they're random, right? Sometimes we shuffle them, we cut the deck, shuffle them again, cut the deck, okay? So we're really, trying different ways and different levels of randomizing the cards. We do that with matched designs as well. So what we researchers do is match data in pairs or groups to maximize independency. So when I say independency, I mean it hopefully helps deal with problems like if we use the music and test score study, it might if we assigned groups, so group one is listening to the music, and maybe these are all people who get distracted with lyrics, but lyrical is fine because it just kind of gives some nice background noise. But we happen to play lyrical music without realizing what their preference is. And so if we find that group one, there's no effect of music, meaning that group one didn't do any differently than on the test than group two, we might be committing what we call a type 2 error, which means that we say, well, there's no effect, but really there could be an effect because we didn't randomize, okay, the people who liked music or didn't like music or had specific preferences. So we as researchers have to set that up first as randomization, unless we are predicting something very specific. So we're saying, well, I think people who regularly listen to hip hop while they're studying do better than people who listen to classical music. Okay, so we do have like this predetermined groups then already, right? The quasi-experimental thing. But in this case, we're talking about just this trying to alleviate the dependency of the groups of, a group in group A, a person in group A finds lyrical music to be distracting. Maybe 10 other people also feel that way. So there's kind of that dependency. Those guys are gonna score similarly, which is going to kind of make the results a little bit wonky. So anyway, that's what we're doing, and we're using these match designs of randomization. So range matching, precision matching, and rank order. So those are already in this PowerPoint at the beginning of this PowerPoint, and you can, or the PowerPoint last week, and you can look at these, but we're going to actually demonstrate those right now. Okay, so go ahead and pull up or print out a copy of the CLC worksheet, and you're going to want to take notes as well. I'm going to warn you, this project is very tedious. So if you know how to use Excel, please use Excel. You can do everything by hand. It doesn't matter how you do it though. It's going to be tedious. So when you're in your groups, I don't have a suggestion as to how you want to divide up the work. It might be challenging, but that's why we want to get going on this as soon as possible. Okay, so now I'm going to pull up. Okay, I'm going to pull this up. This is what you should have in LoudCloud, right? So it gives these instructions about match subject designs. You're going to actually create a table using different types of match subject designs. And here's the table. Here's the data that they provide you. There's 40 subjects. They give you gender, weight, and height for each subject. So the point is you need to, follow some instructions as far as how to randomize, how to mix up and shuffle these data to be more confident that they're in a random order, okay? So what I've done is I've actually taken, an example. I've taken the instructions, I've divided up into a few steps and demonstrating what I've done for each step. And I've also eliminated some of the work for you. So step 1. So they're asking you to create a random numbers table. All that is just, here's a way to randomize this table, and go ahead and do it. Okay, so this is what I did. So I'm going to pretend like my table consists of 20 participants. So I'm going to use the same data that was on the original worksheet. I'm going to actually change this. And so I'll do, it's kind of like if you and I are partners, I would do half and then you would do half. So I'm going to do I'm going to do 20 of the participants, and then you are going to sort of follow suit and do the other 20. If that makes sense. Okay, so what I did, the first thing that I did, and they asked me, they wanted to have me, first of all, make 2 groups, and then assign an equal number of men and women to each group. Okay, so that's what I did. I color coded it because for me it's a little bit easier, but it's up to you how you want to do it. And it's easier just to kind of show you what I did. So I just took all the females, I put the females, the first 5 females in yellow, the first 5 males in green, and that was my first group. Okay, and then I just did the next 5 females, and the next 5 males. Females are in blue, males are in purple, and that would comprise group 2. So that's one way of randomizing, right? You're kind of moving around, shuffling around the data. It's not how it is exactly when it was presented to you to begin with, right? So then you'll need to put the subjects. So you take what you have already, and it says put the subjects with odd numbers in group 1, and then put subjects with even numbers in group 2. So they're not saying to change any of this. We're taking what we've already done and we're taking it another level. We're now randomizing it by odd and even numbers. So I kept all of this as is, but now I'm just focusing on the numbers, okay? The numbers of the participant numbers. So I put all the odds here in the first group, all the evens in the second group, and that's how I randomized for step 2. Okay. Then my next one, it says separate the participants into 2 groups by using range matching by weight. Okay, so I know by weight is the variable I'm going to be matching. So decide on your acceptable ranges in advance, for example, within 5 pounds. So when you do a range matching design, you're going to match 2 data points or 2 participants. And so you have to predetermine like a range. So you're going to match people by the closeness of their data, the similarity of whatever score they have. So for example, maybe you want to find scores that are within 5 points or pounds or whatever metric of each other. So they're similar, right? It's a range that you're going to match together. So I'm going to take my table that I have, and now I'm going to try and find the weights that are closest, and they're close to each other and put them in pairs. So I have 95 as my lowest, and I just kind of went up to the highest. Here's another thing you can do. You can just randomize in this group and then randomize in this group. Okay, but in this case, I just happen to do all of them. So so I looked at all the weights, right? So all the weights are kind of just scattered here. So I went down, I looked at all the weights, and I started at the low end, and then I tried to find the ones that were as 5 pounds or less, as close to that as I could, right? So 95 was the lowest. Then the next one I found was 100. That, what was that? Where did that go? 100. So these two, okay, pairs actually were the Betty Won't and Carol of the Bells. Those two went together because they were very close, within 5 pounds of each other. So that's what this looks like. Okay. And so then I went on to 108, and then 108 and 110. Those were a pair. Then 110 and 115, those were a pair. So I'm just making pairs based on the range I set in a particular order. Whether you do, start high to low or low to high, that's another way of just, again, shuffling all the data once more and messing it up again, messing it up in a good way. So step 4 asks you to match as many pairs of female participants as possible. Find a match and randomly assign one to the first group and the other to the second group, and then do the same for the male participants. So I went through, and first of all, let's go back up here. I already had this organized kind of by gender. And the reason why is because usually men weigh more than women. And so you can see that the first group ended up being kind of all female, second group was all male, because that's just how, the weight is distributed in general. So that sort of was already done for the gender. But then I'm going to look at the gender pairs, which Carol and Betty is a pair. So then what I did was take Carol, left her there, and I put Betty down here. Sharon, I left up here, but I put Anna down here. And so I now have the pairs, so I've broken up the pairs and put them in separate groups. And so this is what it looks like at the end. You can see that the gender is all kind of mixed together. Okay, no longer is weight the variable, but we've already done weight, shuffled that, and now we're shuffling it again by gender. And then the last step was match the 40 participants on gender, 20 participants on gender, weight, and height using rank ordered matching. So in this case, I ordered the first group separately from the second group because men are typically taller than women, and so that would be less randomized, meaning that I'm going to look at height, right? So this is the height column, and I'm going to randomize those. So I'm going to take group 1, and I'm going to randomize group 1 only. Okay, so I'm going to go low to high. I'm going to randomize that from low to, I'm going to order these from low to high, and then I'm going to start over with group 2 and order these from low to high. Okay. So you see there's like a little bit of a mix here. So it looks a little similar up here, but there's definitely a mix. Okay. So like I said, Excel is great. Excel is easier, can be easier to use. You just, want to type in for your variables, right? And then all of your data. So I would use the original data. That's maybe the data that's on on the worksheet. And just, you can change the ranking. So on Excel, you can just say, well, I want it to go from low to high or high to low on this variable. So I have So the 20 participants that I did not use are right here. These are the data that you're going to use. So there are 20 participants. First thing you'll do is divide them into 2 groups. And each should have the same, roughly the same amount of males and females in each. So this would be like starting up here. You don't have to color code it like I did. There's other ways of doing it that might work better for you, but for me, this is really the, you know, I'm visual. So just to start out, it was nice to kind of see how it was all divided right up front, okay? And so you just follow the steps that I did, only you're gonna do it with your 20, group of 20, and create a table. And maybe you're asking, well, what is that table gonna look like? It should look like this. It should be that final step 5, okay, where I've done as many iterations as I can. I can do more, but this is what your final table is going to look like, okay? I modified this, guys, because it is very tedious. It's using Excel helps, but you're eventually doing several iterations of just mixing and matching. So it'll make your brain tired. And so that's why I did half of it for you. The other half is what you do. So you might be asking yourself, what do I do when I have my final table? These are the things you're going to have to turn in, and I want to see this is exactly what I did. So I want to see your step 1, I want to see your step 2, I want to see your step 3 and 4, and then your final one, 5. Am I going to be really picky on, you know, some of the decisions you might have made about, like, well, I'm just gonna, you know, I'm just gonna order this group and then start the second group as a completely different order, like that. So it's up to you, those little nuances. The goal of this assignment is to show you not only how the different matching designs work, and what they look like, but also to give you a complete picture of what real randomization looks like. And by say real randomization, I mean closer to the amount of randomization that you're gonna be talking about in your study. How are you gonna use this in your study? It'll probably be just talk about it. Okay, so you might talk about one type of matched pair design that you used with the data that you collected, okay? And so that you know what that means. It's really important that you just at least know, you won't be doing it with your actual data, but you'll know what it means and be able to write up a sentence or so to add to the methodology. So this, if I haven't assigned your CLC groups, I'm gonna do that. I'll do that tonight. And I'll post this, I'll post the document. I'll also post a YouTube link for this little video that I just went through. And yeah, so tomorrow I'm going to talk a little bit about the quiz that's going to be taking place. It is only 10 questions, and I think you might be happy to hear some of the things I'm going to say. So in the meantime, take a look at this. Let me know if you have questions. Let me know if you would like or interested in setting up a Zoom meeting to just go over some class stuff. Probably more likely we're going to go over the research stuff, but it's kind of good to have that contact that we're not getting at the moment from anybody. So so it's a little bit, refreshing to be able to talk to someone face to face, even if not in person. Gosh, I think that that's all that I was going to go through. And yeah, so I will be much more present here until the end of the semester. Yeah, so yeah, so I will send an announcement out. You can reply to the announcement because it'll include the link to the lecture. And I will hopefully hear from you soon. And if I don't, then please stay safe and healthy. And I will see you the next lecture. Thanks. Bye-bye.